Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And I am so excited to talk to my guest today. And we're going to have such a great discussion. And so please join me in welcoming Justin Breen to our program today. Welcome, Justin. How are you doing today?
Wonderful. Very grateful to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will dive into this. So Justin Breen is the founder and CEO of the exclusive connectivity platform Brepic Network. His newest book, Epic Life, features a foreword from Dr. Pita Diamandis and has been the #1 overall book for sales on Amazon Kindle. It also recently made the Wall Street Journal and USA Today bestseller lists. Now, his bio could go on for a long time because he has done so many fabulous things, but I'm going to let him tell you a little bit more about it. So, Justin, how did you get to where you are today?
Well, it's great to be here. Very thankful for that. I live a very simple life, very simple. So I'm either spending time with my family. My wife's a pediatrician and COO of Brepic Network, and then our two sons are 11 and 9. They're both unemployable. Like me, they're just pure visionaries who will change the world. So it's either spending time with them or connecting the world's top visionaries to serve humanity. So not humans, not business owners, not consultants, just top visionaries on the planet. And I've basically been doing that my whole life in some capacity.
Tell us a little bit more about that, because I think so many people think must do business, must make money.
No. Yeah, so when I hear the B word, I just cross it off and change it to purpose or life. I've never understood. I was a journalist for 20 years. I don't even know what an S Corp is. I don't understand that stuff. It's been confusing to me. And then I strongly feel you're either born top visionary on planet or not. I think most people would choose this life, but they make excuses. They live in what do you cost charge? I can't afford something. Visionary, they just write the check, find a way to do it. No, I mean, visionaries are hard to find at first. Usually aliens within their own family, community, and verticals. The only people that understand us are top visionaries on the planet. So I've been talking like this my whole life, and then 46 now, and really only over the last couple of years did I actually find people who understood and then could actually learn from them. They just happen to be top entrepreneurs on the planet, or ones that write the check to become one of those people.
I love that. And I had the opportunity to read your book, which again is called Epic Life. And I love it. It was short and sweet, but chock full of great information. And one of the things that you have after every chapter are epic takeaways. And so we'll talk about some of those. But you talk about the fact that an entrepreneur is different than a business owner.
Oh, 100%.
So, yeah. Tell us more about that, because we're not saying business owners are bad.
No, there's no good or bad.
Right. But they are different. And I think so many times people combine the two. If you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner. If you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur.
No, wrong.
But tell us more about that.
Okay, so all I do is talk to the world's top visionaries. So not humans, not business owners, not consultants. And I spend time with my family. And then most visionaries are ADD, ADHD, diagnosed or undiagnosed. They're all over the place. They just ramble. And then I hear blah, 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 simplify pattern, blah, 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 simplify pattern, blah, blah, blah. So business owners, humans, consultants, they care about revenue, employee count, office space, transactional things. They're trying to change their world there. True visionary cares about purpose, Purpose, connectivity, spending time with loved ones, they're changing the world, the fundamental difference.
Yeah, and we're not talking about not making money because we have to have money to
Money is
survive.
energy. Money is
Right,
energy.
right. And we need money to do what it is we're going to do, whatever it is. But it should never be the only reason we're doing something.
I don't even understand. So my wife and I were just on Necker Island. That's Sir Richard Branson's private island.
Mhm.
So we were there with him and some other visionaries for a week. And I was asking him, what has made him happy. He's 73, so I would argue he's one of the top, if not the
Mhm.
top visionary on the
Mhm.
planet. Like, okay, so I like to talk to people like that and get an answer. And he said he never started any of his companies with the primary purpose of making money. That was never the primary purpose.
Mhm.
It's a byproduct of purpose.
Mhm.
Byproduct of purpose. That's all.
Right. Well, you talk to these folks, share some wisdom some more wisdom from some of these true visionaries. And let's be honest, there are the faux visionaries. And then there are really people who are true, and they don't have to be the billionaires of the world,
There's nothing to do
right?
with there's nothing to do with that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some of the visionaries might be your next door neighbor. You know,
Mm.
no, no. I don't know. I like my neighbors.
Yeah, okay. So we'll go back to money as energy.
Okay.
Overwhelming majority of the people I talk to are at least high six figure.
Okay.
Most are millionaires and beyond,
Mhm.
several billionaires. Again, the only reason is because money creates energy
Okay.
to actually do something. And then I don't know, 10% of the people I talk to, they don't have that type of money, but they don't make excuses. They don't
Mhm.
ask what your cost or charge. They don't say, I can't afford this. They just
Right.
do it. Well, that's what separates visionaries from everyone else.
Mhm.
They
Right.
don't make excuses.
And you're, business owners are truly concerned with how they make their, what are they doing? How can they make payroll?
You know, I don't think about
All
any
of
of that
those
stuff.
things. Yeah. I
That's
mean, that
personal.
is what the business owner does.
Mhm.
And we have to have those people, right? If we didn't have those people, we couldn't have whatever it is that we're doing. But I think what's important is this world. And I was just talking with somebody in London just an hour ago. We were talking about the state of affairs. And I think one of the things that we kind of came to the conclusion about is that we need more visionaries, more people who are not in it just for the money, just for how can I get my name in front of the media. So how does one become, and you mentioned it, I mean,
No, you're
you're
either
not
born like this or you're not.
right. It's not okay. Today, I think I'm
No,
going to be
no how
visionary.
a visionary would never ask that question. They would
Right.
just
So how you mentioned you've been like this
there's no how, you just do it.
right
My
Yoda,
father was
right?
60.
Yeah.
No, there's
Mm-hmm.
no. Okay, thank you. Thank you for asking that. My father was 61 when I was born, shot down multiple times in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
many times without a parachute, would just
Mm-hmm.
get back into a plane. Most people can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a visionary does.
Right. You
They don't
just
ask, how do I get back in the
mm-hmm.
plane? They just go back in the plane.
Right. They just do it.
Right.
So you mentioned that you've always, like we said, you either are or you aren't. And so you have always been like this.
Mm-hmm.
How did that manifest when you were younger? What did you do?
Well, that's a funny question. I laugh because now I'm thinking about myself when I was younger. So my dad died when I was 13. He'd be 108 now, almost.
Mm-hmm.
I should be 80 years old ish.
I had a much older dad also. I
How old
understand.
was your dad?
So he was born in 1918.
Okay, mine was 1916. My
16,
uncle
I
was
think.
born
Mm-hmm.
in 1980. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when was your mom born?
There was a very big age difference. My
How
mom was
much?
born in 1932.
Okay, my mom was born in 1949. They were 34
Mm-hmm.
years, 30. But age is just
It's a number.
it's a number. And are you an only child?
I am.
So you got World War II wisdom.
World War II wisdom, Depression wisdom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Spanish flu,
Mm-hmm.
World War
Mm-hmm.
One.
Right.
So when someone says they can't afford something, I'm like, what are you even talking about?
I know. It's like, oh, huh, you don't know. And of course,
But
when they
like,
talk about not being able to afford something, it's it is usually not they're having to pick between a staple or something, and because there are people who cannot afford the basics, the true poor people.
yeah.
When people are saying I can't afford it, maybe there's, or they're well, I can't afford the Lamborghini. Well, I'm sorry, maybe you don't need the
Oh,
Lamborghini.
I need a Lamborghini.
Yeah, it's the perception of what it is that they can't afford.
Well, I just don't understand people who make excuses. It's illogical to me.
Right.
It's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what separates visionaries from everyone else. They just don't make excuses
Right.
ever.
If they want the Lamborghini, they do what it takes to get the Lamborghini.
It's a Lamborghini.
Right. Right.
Right.
So back to when you were little,
Mm.
what's, and yeah, we got sidetracked on comparing our life stories. So what did your parents think? Because, having read your book,
No, 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 no. Yeah. Okay. So thank you. No, no. So there was no box. No,
right?
no
It
box.
wasn't, Justin, what are you doing
What are you
now?
talking about? No, no, no. What? No, 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 no. No. So I mean, when I was 8 or 9. Oh, the one time. Oh, yeah. Okay. So the one time my dad said that we couldn't do something. He got a movie from West Coast Video, if you remember West Coast Video. It
Hmm.
was like Blockbuster before Blockbuster.
Right, right.
And
Hmm.
then so when I was a child, he took us to like RoboCop and Platoon. Like
Hmm.
human children don't usually go to that.
No,
Okay,
that's
but whatever.
scary.
No, it was funny. No, and not scary. Funny. I took my kids are, I'm going to answer your question. Our sons are 9 and 11.
Hmm.
When they were 10 and 8, I took them to Cocaine Bear. And then the 10-year-old brought his 10-year-old friend, and we were laughing hysterically. And then the 10-year-old friend was like crying. So we had to leave the theater. But I was like,
Oh.
but that's most of the work. That's most
Hmm.
of the work. Okay, so one time we brought a video home, and my
Hmm.
dad said you can't watch that. This is one, and it was Eddie Murphy Raw. And if that was the most inappropriate,
That would have been pretty
I'm like, why are
inappropriate.
you turning that off?
Hmm.
I'm like, why are you turning that off?
Hmm.
And he's like, you can't. Some of the words in there, and now I understand why.
Right. But you already
Uh,
knew them.
not, no, 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 not
Not
those.
Eddie Murphy Raw
No,
level. Okay.
no. Not like racist, derogatory
That's
slander.
true. That's true.
And then um and what was and then like my mom didn't really care. Like I remember when we were kids, like she let us watch Porky's, which is like also not appropriate for children. But like I don't like rules are weird to me. I'd never
Mhm.
understood. And then my advice for our children is misdemeanor, okay, felony bad. So and then
Mhm.
my wife's a pediatrician. She's like, a parent. She's apparently a
Yeah, you
parent.
mentioned in the book that she does the primary, the big decision parent.
Yeah, well, because I mean, I don't, she has 3 children,
Mhm.
our sons and me, so our 2 sons and me.
A
So,
lot of
but
wives
most great
think that way.
visionaries are like little kids. They're like
Mhm.
little kids. So
Right, right. So your parents encouraged you to be like this
they
because
didn't
they knew
even
you
care. I
were.
mean, didn't care. Like
Yeah, that's just
it
the way you were.
wasn't encouraging. It
Mhm.
was just they not even.
Mhm.
They just they just let me do whatever I wanted. So
I love that, and I think maybe that's one of the things that is missing is so many parents, and I am not a parent, so I'll put that right out there. Not a parent, have not played one on TV. Um, you know, they want what's best for their kids, so they try to guide them. They try to
Mhm.
guide them away from things. Don't touch that, that's hot. um but of course somebody tells me don't touch it, it's hot. What do? Whoop, you reach out, right?
Right.
Or wet paint, and I always had wet paint on my hands, right?
Hmm.
And so I think being able to have those experiences
Uh-huh.
is how we learn and grow,
Right.
as long as we're not going to physically hurt ourselves a lot. I mean, like I said, if they said don't touch that, it's hot, I still might have
Borderline.
touched it, right? Yeah,
Borderline.
you went ow. I didn't lay my hand on whatever it was and burn it bad. but
Huh?
yeah, we learn from our mistakes, maybe is one of the big things.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the best way to. That's I mean I don't even understand like not risking things. Like that's
Right.
the only way to learn
And
it
is
is
it really a mistake?
no. Everything is a everything's a learning
Hmm.
experience.
Right. So, one of the things that you talk about in your book about your dad is his favorite saying.
Yeah.
So tell us more about that and tell us why it's so important to you.
Thank you. I always like talking about my dad. So he always would say, again, he died when I was 13. He always said the cream rises to the top. So that's chapter one of Epic Life. I used to think it was specifically in journalism world to like get to a big market, but I found, and then I used to think it was like with entrepreneurship, growing a giant company or whatever. But really, what it is, I think, at this point is rising level scale of consciousness, getting scale of
Hmm.
consciousness all the way to the top of that. The highest scale of consciousness I've met so far of anyone is Sir Richard Branson.
Hmm.
He's right at the top. So that's I guess my body goal the rest of my life is to get that up
Hmm.
to that level.
So what
That's the
stops
that's
us?
what stops us. Most people they're their own limiter. They make
Okay.
their excuses. I don't.
Are we
It's
afraid?
well, yeah, but for a visionary, fear is good. So for a human, fear is bad.
So yeah, and we do have fear. I mean,
Fear is good. Fear is
right.
excellent. I know when something's great when I'm afraid. Yeah.
Well, it's because part of it is when we get that fear, our adrenaline goes up, our senses go up. I mean, all sorts of things. And so we
Yeah.
absorb more maybe of what's going on.
Mm.
Um,
More
and
aware. More
yeah,
aware.
we're aware of it. So, I mentioned that you have the epic takeaways. So I'm going to read let's talk about the three epic takeaways in the first
Yeah.
chapter, which is the cream rises to the top. So the first is partner with those who will make the investment.
Yeah. No, I can't afford this. Nope. Opposite of that.
Mhm. Find strength. And I love this. Find strength in your family's history and what you can learn from it.
Yes. Yep. I'm a lesson bridge between my parents, their parents, their parents, their parents, and our children, their children, their children, their children. So however long body life is, whatever, but just a lesson bridge. And then if you don't know where you come from, it's hard to know where you are, and then it's really hard to
Mhm.
know where you're going. So a lot of folks don't know where they come from, so they don't know
Right.
where they're going. So
What about people who don't like their history?
a visionary would never say that.
Because it is part of how it made them who they are, right?
That is exact. That's not part of it.
It
That's
is what
it.
made them who they
That's
are.
not. That's we're only we're a living embodiment of what
Mhm.
happened.
Right.
I don't think there's anything else. I
Hmm.
think that's literally
Hmm.
like whether it's going through cancer or what I mean,
Hmm.
that's what it or your
Right.
parents or your
Hmm.
school.
Hmm.
I that's literally what it
Hmm.
yeah.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what's sad when people try to change their history. Now it might not be something that you're proud of, but it is who made you who you are. Now you might say, I'm not going to make the same decisions that they did,
Mm.
but and I almost said mistake. See, but it's not a mistake, right? It was a decision, a choice that they made. You might say, okay,
Yeah.
they did this, I'm going to do this instead. But because you saw, okay, what the results were from what they did.
Well, I mean, yeah, change is it's an interesting choice with that or
Mm-hmm.
flip the script or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I, I just look at things as like everything's an opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
learning. I mean, like talk is meaningless to me without an example, but epic life is it's about how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. So all I do is talk to visionaries and talk to 1 to 2 of them that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from having a family. So I'm like, well, that's a bad idea. I'm not going to do that. I'm spending time with my family. So I
Right.
learned from, it's not a mistake. I just learned from others, which I would never do that to my family, or I would always put my family first. So
Well,
that's what,
and I mean that was obviously the thing that resonated through your entire book is your priority is your family.
yeah, why would,
And
it's illogical for it not to
yeah,
be.
and but it's unfortunately not the decision so many people make. We've seen so many back to, the entrepreneur versus the business owner, and maybe not even just the business owner, the business manager, the business CEO, whoever,
Mhm.
who always, I'm not saying that they're putting their business first, but they are
Yes,
prioritizing
they
it.
are. No, they, it's
Yeah, because
exactly.
if they prioritize it, then they put it first, right?
Yes.
And and they're the workaholics.
Yeah.
They miss the school plays.
Right.
They, and so many times when you talk to those people, you hear about the I wish I could have. I
Yeah.
wish I
It's
would have.
nonsense. No, there is
Because
no
they
way.
should have. They made those choices, right?
Right.
You know,
Well, I
and,
mean, it's not that, I mean, like, um, it always baffles me. Like, why would you not put your family first?
mhm,
It's illogical.
right.
But one of my great friends, his name is Jason Lowe. We're doing a book together because he when we were on Necker Island, he was saying he boiled down leadership or parenting to 3 fundamental things: be kind, be respectful, and be responsible.
Mhm,
I'm like, oh, that needs to be a book. And then like I started drawing, which I'm not very good at, but like in the center is you, and
mhm,
in the center of YOU is a dot inside of the O, and that's for a higher power. So it's higher power,
mhm,
then you, then family, then leader. And so what you were talking about, I see that I guess if it's a narcissist or a workaholic, they're focused on you, them, and then they bypass family or they bypass
mhm,
higher power and they go right to leading company. They
right.
don't think about their family or they don't think about higher power. They think about themselves first, uh, usually themselves almost exclusively, and then they try to bypass the other things. And that's where I see people running into trouble.
Right. And a lot of times, hey, we're back to those excuses, right? We do it because of our family. We want to
Well,
make the gazillion dollars so we can
oh,
better
yeah,
provide for
yes.
our
Oh, of
family.
course. Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, but putting family first actually creates what you're talking about.
right. And I guess there probably are people who are like, "Ooh, I got the really cool car."
And
And yeah, and dad missed my music program. Hmm.
yeah, that sounds
Ultimately, they
bad.
remember that dad or mom missed the music program. My dad, he worked for the state of Colorado, which
Mhm.
I got a big kick when it said in your book that your first job was Boulder Daily Camera, because I
Yeah.
went to University of Colorado.
Yes, I know.
Um, but my dad worked for the state of Colorado. He was with the Division of Wildlife,
Mm, fun.
and his hours were definitely not always his own hours. Um, and so he missed a lot of what I
He could have
did
brought you
growing
into
up.
nature. I would have brought you out into the
Now
wild.
he did, and that was one of the cool things. I mean,
Right.
I went out and rode with him.
Right.
Now obviously there, it depended on what he was doing, but yeah, just riding around the countryside, doing all sorts of stuff like that.
Right.
That was always great fun. And but yeah, I mean, there were times where he didn't see my basketball games. Now there was probably not much of a loss there because I sat on the bench, but he just he wasn't there, and I do remember those times far more than how much he worked. Now it was difficult, and I think part of that was because he was the World War II, um
Mhm.
the baby boomer. I mean, all of that. His priority was taking care of his family,
Hmm.
but taking care of the family means spending time with the family.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, it's not like life is pretty simple.
Mhm.
It's people get in their own ways, which is I don't like spend time with family. There are only two things I ask myself every day that actually matter. I found the rest of this stuff just kind of takes care of itself. But one is, did I have a good experience that day with my family? Two, did network grow on a global level? So
Hmm,
that's it. I mean, I don't really think about anything else.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, and I know what it's like to not have a dad around. He died
Mhm,
when I was young, and I'm just not gonna be that. I'm not doing that.
mhm. So, what do you tell the people? And usually they're a little bit younger, but what do you tell the people who have not yet started a family? And so they're still kind of building
Question.
things.
Great question. That's a great question. Well, I don't tell people anything because I hate the
Right. You're
ADVI.
not lecturing at them, right?
No, that's no, I mean, a visionary is gonna do what they're gonna do.
Hmm.
But um, usually, not always, not always, but usually visionaries like me marry stabilizing, human, high achiever, kind,
Which
empathy.
it sounds like your wife very much is.
That
Hmm.
would be my, yes.
Hmm.
And one of two things happens when that happens. Okay. One, it's a situation like my wife and me and our children, where my wife is the biggest supporter, is able to evolve with the visionary, and then
Hmm.
she's phasing out of pediatrics. She's the COO of Brepic Network.
Hmm.
The reason why it's going so well and we're about to be named one of top 5 masterminds on planet is because of her, because she
Hmm.
brings harmony and joy to
Hmm.
family and harmony and joy to company.
Hmm.
And visionaries are adult children, so she's an adult pediatrician now. That's basically what she is okay. So that's one. What I actually see more often and hear more often is the stabilizing human does not evolve with the visionary. They become an anchor filled with resentment.
Hmm.
Then they can't keep up because a visionary cannot
Hmm.
stop being a. I mean, you're
Right.
wireless.
They
You
need that anchor, though,
can,
to
they
kind
have,
of keep them
but
centered.
yes, but the anchor many times is a preventer that
Right.
doesn't help them
Hmm.
go anywhere.
It needs to not drag them down, type of anchor.
Correct.
Hmm.
And when it drags down, even if they stay married, it's a disaster.
Hmm.
So, like, I guess the thing I do say to folks who are like this, I'm like, marry someone like my wife. Marry someone like my wife.
And so
And they're
you
like, what?
talk in your book about your gratitude journal for her every day.
Yes.
I love that. So tell us more about that.
Well, my wife taught me how to say thank you. I didn't know you had to say that to people, so thank you for asking that question. Her unconscious motivator Enneagram is a 2, which is to be needed and appreciated.
Hmm.
So no matter what she does, it doesn't matter what she does, she wants someone to say thank you to her.
Hmm.
So the first thing I do every day is a grateful journal to her, just to what I'm grateful for her the previous 24 hours. I send her the whole thing every now and then, a
I was
couple
going to
times.
ask if she read it. Hmm.
I know it's really long now. Um, um, what it does help with, and like I could never say thank you enough, no matter how many times I say thank you to her, but at least it gets me in the habit of
Right.
ritual of saying
Hmm.
thank you. But without my wife, I mean, very bad situation. So
Well,
yeah.
and I think a lot of times it's like you said, we assume that people know we're grateful and
Hmm.
they have to be told. And
I
I don't
guess
care if,
I
yeah,
don't.
uh, you know, but you are appreciative when when people say it, right? But it's
Not really, but I guess it doesn't really matter to me. Yeah.
and but it's I think it is important, however we do it, to show our gratitude.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Yes.
grateful for your wife, grateful for your life,
Yeah.
um, because it is so easy to take a downward spiral, or not even take a downward spiral. I mean, it just coast maybe would be the thing,
Oh,
when
I
we're
don't
not
understand.
stopping to think
I
about
don't
our
understand
gratitude.
that. I don't
Yeah.
understand. No, that's only.
Yeah. I mean, full speed ahead, maybe is the
Yeah,
thing.
that would be coasting. I guess if that's your normal, like, so I feel, I guess, at peace during two experience, like fully at peace. One is skydiving. It's like actually peaceful. That feels like coasting. It's interesting. And then
Mhm.
driving very fast in car. I like to drive fast because it's like you must total concentration, total focus.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, which both of those would scare the bejesus out of me. Now you know,
You went through cancer. How does
I
anything scare
know,
you? That
I
makes
know.
no sense to me.
Well, and it's really because stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, right, whatever. You know, when they called to say, hey, you've got a third cancer, I said bad words. I mean, you know, but I was
Yeah,
more
but
annoyed than anything. Um, but I'm not a fan of heights.
neither am I. I hate heights.
But you know, but I am intrigued with skydiving.
Okay.
You know, like I went up in a hot air balloon, thought I would hate it, and then of course realized, oh my God, it's the greatest thing in the world.
Hmm.
Um, and um, and and I do like to go fast as long as you know what you're doing. I mean, that's the
Right.
whole thing. Is it's not go fast out of control. It's go fast and be in control.
Correct. That's when I'm in control, is when I'm
Mhm.
going fast. That's
Right.
coasting.
So you're in control.
Right.
Are you ever the passenger in the go fast?
Yes. Within companies,
Mm-hmm.
I don't usually like to talk unless it's like a format like this. And then
Mm-hmm.
most of my days talking to the world's top visionaries, and I'm usually listening most of the time.
Okay.
So that is fast knowledge, fast knowledge, fast knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
fast ramble, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm just listening for the things that actually are meaningful within all the rambling. And then like most people I talk to and there's an assessment, Patrick Lancioni, working genius. Most of the people I talk to are like wonder and inventor, and I'm discernment galvanized. So I take all that wonder and invention and then discern and then
Mm-hmm.
simplify, connect, simplify, connect, simplify,
Mm-hmm.
connect. Very
And
flowing.
you know, and the simplify, I think, is the important thing. We make life so
Absolutely.
gosh darn complicated,
Not
right?
mine.
You know, and it doesn't have to be.
No,
You know, with any of it. I mean, you
no.
know, you get the facts that you need, and
Hmm.
just the facts that you need. You know, people come to me. I've been diagnosed with cancer. And I
Okay.
tell them the first thing you do is you do not go to Google. You know, if you type in cancer in Google, you're going to get so overwhelmed that your brain paralyzes, right?
Oh.
So you get just the information you need, you make the decision, and you go
Mhm.
on. Now you might have to change. I mean, you know, that's the thing is none of these things are written in stone. But if you allow yourself to have too much information, then you cannot make a decision.
Oh, yeah, I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, and Strength Finders, 30th out of 34 in context, don't care about input. My top three are activate, maximize, achieve.
Mhm.
So I just do it. That's the only way
Right.
to learn anything is
Mhm. Right. You know, and you do need sometimes, you know, input from others. Like you said, you spend a lot of time listening.
my wife's good at that. Good input.
Well, and you know, that's part of why I'm sure she is a very good pediatrician too, is
Yes.
she's getting input from her patients and their
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
Because you know, as a peds doctor, sometimes they're not able to give good input. But and so then she can take that in and she can process it and then
Correct.
help them make the decisions that they need to make.
Correct. Yep. I do the same thing for visionaries.
Mhm.
Same
I love it.
adults.
Just a different thought process. Um, you know,
Hmm.
and I want there's a couple more of the epic takeovers. So, you know, if you know what you want, the perfect partners find you.
Correct.
Tell us more about that.
Well, favorite my brain just again takes all this complexity and it's a pattern. My
Mm-hmm,
favorite one, and I just let my brain do what it's supposed to do at this point, but
mm-hmm,
my brain is coasting but going very fast. But the
mm-hmm,
favorite pattern is right mindset attracts right network, creates right
mm-hmm,
opportunities. So uh the mindset is just a magnet. Gratitude is just a magnet for other grateful people who don't make excuses, and
mm-hmm,
then it's a repellent for people that make excuses or live in scarcity.
mm-hmm,
And um, part of right mindset is there are two types of geniuses, two types. Everyone I talk to is a genius brain. So it's like the Caltech, MIT
Mhm.
type of brain, or whether or not they went there or not. But many of them don't
That
have genius
level. Hmm.
hearts. Yeah, they're that, high IQ. And then, because you can't be a visionary without high IQ. It's
Right.
impossible.
That is the kind
It's
of
not.
part
You
of
can,
it. Hmm.
impossible. Yeah, it's just part of it. But then you can learn. Oh, and then there's but a lot of them don't have the genius heart, so they're cyborgs.
Hmm.
Not a lot of narcissists. But
Hmm.
then there's the genius heart. That's the small nonprofit, the hippie, the guitar player on the corner, but they don't have a genius brain.
Hmm.
So they can't mechanize. You know, they're still playing a guitar on the street, but when you combine the genius brain and genius heart, that's when it's really exciting. And then part of the genius heart is and brain too, but more heart is the mindset
Hmm.
of gratitude. That attracts others with genius brain and genius hearts that I've seen.
Right.
It's a magnet.
It's funny, when you were talking about that, the person that popped into my brain is Elon Musk.
He doesn't have a genius heart.
He doesn't have the heart. He does have that brain. Oh my God.
It's a brain.
His brain is incredible,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have that genius heart.
Doesn't have.
And we there's a variety of ways where we saw that and we continue to see it. And it is interesting, but like you said, someone like Richard Branson, and he's probably the I I can't think of anybody else that would be higher than him who's still alive.
I can't think
Um,
of one. He's the
yeah.
highest I've met
Hmm.
on the scale of consciousness with the
Hmm.
genius heart. He's a pure extrovert, just loves people.
Hmm.
Um, I've met a few people that are close to that. They're not famous, but they're almost like they're not like priests or anything, but they have that type of demeanor,
Hmm.
almost angelic. It's very interesting.
Well,
Um,
they always
very
seem to be thinking, how can they give back? How can they make society better?
100%.
And again, sometimes, and quite often, that means that they're making money. you know
Byproduct.
Right, but it was not the goal.
No, no. I mean, it's no. It's Yeah, again, I mean, these patterns, with these patterns, but like with the scale, I've been really fascinated by scale of consciousness. Dr. David Hawkins, he died in 2003, I think. So he was an MD and a PhD, and he,
Mm.
spent his life uh, basically making a scale of consciousness with numbers, which is
Hmm.
good because I see the world in numbers. But
Right.
so let me just go grab it here. I gotta find it.
Yeah,
But
so numbers and patterns. Hmm.
numbers and patterns with a keyword, and I see the world in numbers and keywords. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
that's perfect for what. But so it goes to 1,000, and most of the world never gets to 200. 200 is labeled as courage, so most people don't. They'd never get to that. So you see the business owner, or whatever, somebody taking a chance, writing a big check for something. That's the
Hmm.
200. Um, goes up to 1,000, and then 500, which is inner love. Only 1% of the population ever gets to that.
Hmm.
540, which is oneness. Only 0.4% gets to that. Most, not all, but most of the people I talk to now are in the 500s,
Hmm.
600s, it's even in the 800s.
Hmm.
Right now I'm in the 800, which is the great void, but I'm actually excited about that because I see the path to 850, which is
Hmm.
divine grace and love union, which
Hmm.
will be like, I'm really excited to reach that. I would say Richard Branson's in the
Hmm.
high 900s, and 1,000 is full consciousness. I mean, I don't know if he's at 1,000, but pretty close to that.
Hmm. So, what are four things that separate visionaries from everyone else?
Yeah, they're all, and this is not a silver spoon discussion. That's a fundamentally different discussion. But most people I talked to did not come from money, at
Right.
least a lot. But
Hmm.
okay, so there are four things, only four. Only four that I see. One, bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. Two, depression. Three, highest level of anxiety you can imagine. Four, trauma as a child or young adult. So for humans, small
Hmm.
business owners, consultants, those are excuses, and for visionary, figure it out. Pre-COVID and pre-second company, when I just had one company, and pre-COVID, I was still talking to employees and small business owners, consultants, and most of them were two, one, or even zero of those four
Hmm.
things. Since COVID, it's mostly purely global visionaries.
Hmm.
In the last 2 years, I think I've talked to five people less than three of those four things. Less than three.
Hmm.
And then I'm three of the four things. I guess quote unquote the really successful ones are usually all four. And then they have the highest IQ, EQ,
Hmm.
most courage, most hustle, no excuses.
Right.
So true visionary, most damaged person with best coping skills, most damaged.
Right. Because they took that and they learned from it.
Correct.
And I think that's, I live in Atlanta, and and I do not watch this show. I just see a commercial for it every once in a while because I'm just absolutely mortified about it. And I mean, there's several of them out there. The reality shows featuring the children of the very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
Those kids bother me.
Yeah.
They have no concept. And then we have somebody. Now I like Shaquille O'Neal. If I
Mhm.
could have dinner with him, I would have
He's a
dinner with him.
visionary. He's a
Yeah.
vision.
I mean, he's just, but I loved it when he came out and said his kids are not in his will. He'll, do what he needs to now, and it's not like he would let them starve or anything like that. But they didn't earn his money, so he ain't giving it to them.
Right.
And
Right.
I loved that because for one thing, they know now, I'm not getting a big paycheck when dad dies. And so I had better take care of myself however I want to take care of myself.
Right.
And I think that is one of the things that the children of very wealthy or moderately wealthy, they are thinking, hey, I've got it made. When mom or dad die, I'm going to get everything they have. And unfortunately, what we see is usually a big downfall, right? They
Right.
they just don't know how to deal with it. It's kind of like people who win the lottery, right? How many of those people do they say actually go bankrupt? They
Most
just
of it.
don't know what to do with it.
Right.
So
Well,
another Mhm.
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So another one of your chapters in your book is about naming your years.
Mhm.
So explain naming your years. And then as we are recording this, it's actually going to go live in February, but we're recording it in January.
Mhm.
So tell us what it is, and then tell us what your 2024 is. And this
Yeah,
is not vision board, kumbaya type of things, right?
no, no. I mean, we do have a 5-year vision board, but that's my wife wanted to do that. So I said, okay, but
Mhm.
no, so one of my friends, Joe Martin, before COVID, he's like, oh, he names his years. I'm like, that's a good idea. I'll start doing that. So 2020 was global growth, everyday global growth. That was before COVID. I started
Mhm.
saying, and then started talking to people around the world, partners around the world.
Mhm.
2021 was no limits. So every day, no limits. When you have no limits, there are no limits. 2022 was epic life, which became title of the book.
Mhm.
2023 is networks, net two words, networks, and Brepic Network really exploded last
Mhm.
year.
Mhm.
This year is Century Club. So I used to think that that was getting Brepic Network to 100 members. We just passed 50 in a little over 5 months. So
Mhm.
it's scaling quickly. So we'll hit 100 by the end of this year for sure.
Mhm.
But what it actually is, what Century Club actually is I want to live to 2100. So that would be 123 years old. And then so Brepic Network is a club for me the rest of my life, rest of this century. That's the real century club. That's what it actually is the rest of my life.
I love it. And you talk about too how it's important to write these things down and say them out loud
Every day.
10 times.
If that's
I
what
read your book. I read it.
That's what it takes.
Mm-hmm. But why? Why is that so important?
Well, I'm guessing you're asking that for your audience, but Earl Nightingale, he's the OG. He's the OG of motivational speakers. He died a long time ago. And then my favorite two quotes of his are: success is progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. My worthy ideal is connecting visionaries to serve humanity. So progressively realizing that. And then second favorite quote of his is: you become what you think about. So if I think about and say and write down, Century Club or Epic Life or No Limits, then it becomes Epic Life, No Limits, Century Club. That's what happens.
Mm-hmm. And it's also about incorporating that into what you do and in your soul, because we've all seen the things where oh gosh, I just drew a total blank on the Secret. That was it. Where people, part of that was, you think about what it is that you want, and you put it on sticky notes and you put it on your mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that now there's, that is part of the manifesting, but just putting it on your mirror means nothing if you're not doing something about it.
100%. Talk is meaningless to me without action. It's meaningless. Completely meaningless.
And so, we do have challenges. So what do you do when, okay, you're right, we don't have challenges, just like we don't have mistakes. How do you kind of shift when it's like, okay, I wanted to go here, now I have to go here? Do you just do it?
You just go there. I mean, you just go.
So no regrets.
No, of course not.
I like that. As long as like somebody didn't die, I mean, which that's not what you're doing. I mean, and so, yeah, but I also love that is just how you live your life. I mean, and we're not saying that you're doing it in a way that hurts others or is disrespectful to others,
No.
because part of being respectful to others and all of that is part of this whole process.
I mean, it's not being disrespectful at all. It's being direct.
Right.
So I would think most people would want a direct answer as opposed to a maybe or, I mean, I just don't like, I've found that directness attracts greatness. That's what it does.
Right. One of my favorite things is, that no is a complete sentence. You don't have to explain. It doesn't have to be no, but now it's, and I think we find that especially when people are asking us to do something and we say, we feel bad that we can't do whatever it is. They're asking us to volunteer time, money, whatever. And so we say no, but so we really didn't mean no. And it's perfectly fine to say no. I mean, we're being authentic and truthful to ourselves, which is then authentic and truthful to them.
Right.
I mean, it would be, let's go back to Richard Branson. If you said, Sir Richard, would you invest in whatever? And he says, well, maybe sometime in the future, right? There's a wishy-washy. Now he's not going to do that, but then you would always be counting on that. If he said no, you're like, okay. And then you would go on to find somebody else. I mean, and so it's a disservice to people when we don't say no, period.
Correct. There's nothing I can add to that.
So, one of the other things you talk, and I love this because this is part of prioritizing your family, is that we have to enjoy playing. And you mentioned fast cars, skydiving. And as adults, we don't think we should play. I think that's the stupidest
Well,
thing in the world,
that's
right?
ridiculous. What are you
Mm,
talking?
and I don't know, maybe it is because I've kind of come close to death several times. I'm like,
Hmm?
and but I do remember when the doctors were fighting over how fast I was going to die that day, thinking, well, that's just the stupidest thing. And I went, well, that's not going to happen. I mean, it really was, it was just this weird conversation. Um, but yeah, and maybe, it's playing for a short period of time or whatever. I mean,
Hmm?
but yeah, we all need to play more and worry
Hmm?
less.
Correct.
And it's like we were saying, we that is part of why I think we need, far more visionaries, because the people who
Good
aren't
luck.
visionaries are worrying, right?
There's not going to, I mean, maybe a little bit more, but I would say our firm's partner with maybe 1 out of 1,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So most people think that's a small number, but 1 out of 1,000 of 8 billion is 8 million. So
Mm-hmm.
there's 8 million, and then the
Yeah,
8 can create everything that helps everyone else. But
right.
like increasing the percentage of
Mm-hmm.
that, I don't necessarily see that going up
But
too
yeah,
much.
because it's like you said, somebody can't just decide to be that. Now, can they decide to not be a visionary? So maybe they are and they think, no, I can't do that.
Wow, that's a great question. That would be unfortunate. What I have seen is so the opposite of the way I was parented and the way my wife and I parent our children. I'm one of my 9 year old's friends who's also 9. He's a genius, and we were talking about IQ. Most kids can't keep up with that, but he could, and he was actually adding value, a tremendous amount of value to the conversation. So he's an only child, and I was talking to his stabilizing both human parents, very nice people, but they're not visionaries. I was telling them, I'm like, oh, he would really like the Epic Life book. Your son's a visionary. He's super high IQ. He can keep up. I'm like, oh, the book is, it's top visionaries on planet are in this book with knowledge. And then the mom was like, oh wow, you wrote a book. That's great. I'm like, that's not.
That's not the purpose of this
So that's where
conversation.
that right, but that's what it so that's what I see is that the visionary is not so okay, like they're prevented by their own limited family or
Mhm.
limited school or but was a journalist for 20 years and then now just talk to visionaries. They're the only two commonalities that I've seen. There are only two that I've seen. One, they have the same mindset, no excuses. They'll write the check, they'll figure out a way to do it. No excuses. No, no, not at the highest level. No
Mhm.
excuses. Two, they had at least one person who genuinely believed and or cared about them. It could be a parent, it could be a mentor, a
Mhm.
coach, teacher. I haven't met one yet that had no one believe in them.
Right.
If that happens, I'd like to meet that person.
Mhm.
Haven't yet. Haven't yet.
Yeah, and maybe that's why it's important, and this is going to be totally off the subject, why it's so important to be mentors to
Of
young
course.
people. They might not be visionaries, but we all should be mentors to people. I mean, that's back to that giving back thing.
Well, there's a 4-step journey that I've seen to becoming a visionary that I've seen.
Okay.
Uh, One, so, or whatever, starting a company, I don't know, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, this is actually interesting. It sounds like it's since birth. So first there's get to get. So if you're a baby, you can't give anything. I don't know, you make
Right.
people smile. Okay, so get to get, pure I'm amazed how many people stay at get to get their whole lives. Then there's get to give. You're mostly getting, but you're trying to give a little bit, but you're
Mm-hmm.
mostly getting. Oh, that's actually interesting. It actually is just like a baby from then there's give to get. You're mostly giving, but you're still trying to get a little.
Mm-hmm.
That's where business owner, human consultant, that's where
Everybody gets stuck there.
almost everybody.
Mhm.
Then you get to the true visionary level, the 1 out of 1,000, maybe less than that, but it's give to the people who get it. So I
Mhm.
will endlessly give, but the person has to get it. And then a case in point with the parents who didn't get it, I was trying to give to, like, I was trying and they don't get it.
Right.
So pointless. They don't get it.
Yeah, they have to be receptive to it.
They have to get it.
Yeah. And unfortunately that wasn't going to change.
It's not going to change.
Yeah.
So sorry.
But the
Like,
nice thing is that young man has you to help mentor him.
maybe. I
Mhm.
mean, we'll see. I mean, like, um, it depends.
Mhm.
My son will be a better mentor for him than me because my son who's his age,
Mhm.
um, my son's a little version of Earl Nightingale. He's just he's got whatever my brain is with my wife's kindness and love and harmony.
Oh,
And
I love it. I love it.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. Yeah.
And I think that goes to show, when parents support their kids, what they can do and what they can become. Um,
Correct.
well, oh my gosh, Justin, this has been absolutely fascinating, and the time has just flown by. We've only got a couple minutes left. So, we've mentioned your book, Epic Life.
Mhm.
But tell us more about Brepic Network.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for asking or stating that. Well, again, formula for creating a successful global company is simply see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So I invest well over 100K in, if you want to call them masterminds, a year. The problem I see in the problem I see is that there's a lot of genius brains, but they don't have the genius heart also. And that's very painful for me. So created an invite only high price point connectivity room for
Mhm.
visionaries who have genius brain and genius heart combined. And then my partner does 8 and 9 figure deals all day and he has empathy. And then my wife is pure harmony, high IQ. So, and then there's no hierarchy. It's all, we're all we're all trying to achieve higher levels of consciousness and learning to create a better world for everyone else. So we're all coaching each other, and that's why it's scaling so quickly because visionaries who have genius brain and genius heart, they want to be around other genius brain, genius heart.
Right.
They don't want to be around narcissists. They don't,
No, ew. Mhm.
all right, and then that's the mastermind world, and it's neither good or bad, but it's filled with that because they act like they have a purpose, but they're just trying to make more money for themselves, and
Mhm.
just by learning and talking and listening to people, I I can hear it now at such a high level that I'm like
Mhm.
I can't. It's too painful for me. So just create our own room, and then it's collaborative with everything else. There's no
Mhm.
competitions, collaborative.
Right. Because it isn't a competition. I mean, that is
None.
the thing.
The competition is against healthcare, education, the law,
Mhm.
religion,
Politics.
politics.
Mhm.
That's where the competition, but
Mhm.
it's a harmonious
Mhm.
competition among visionaries to
Mhm.
solve the world's problems. That's where the competition is. Solve this big problem.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, and we need that. Oh my gosh, there's all sorts of reasons why we need that. So it's Brepic Network, and I'm going to spell that. It's BREPIC network.org. And that's where you'll
That is
find out all
correct.
the information. And how
Yeah.
do people connect with you if they want to connect directly with
Through
you?
that, through
Okay.
that.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, Justin, this really has been absolutely fascinating. I've just been like holding on to my chair the whole time. We've been going, you talk about, driving a race car. Oh my gosh.
That's what it
Um,
is.
and we're getting information from a fire hose, all those various things. So it has
Right.
been an absolutely fabulous discussion. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
One, thank you. Very grateful for this opportunity. Wonderful interview. I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur, not an entrepreneur who happens to be a dad.
Which that's what everybody should be aiming for. Well, Justin, this has been absolutely fascinating. I am Deb Creer. I have been speaking with the absolutely fabulous Justin Breen, the founder and CEO of Brepic Network. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.